So a warm welcome to the practice. I'm aiming to make you giggle a little bit today, as you might find the practice is a bit out of the ordinary. And for that reason, I'm asking you to, if you have, grab 2 blocks. These 2 blocks won't be mandatory. If you don't have 2 blocks, but you might have a blanket, you could use the blanket too, and I will open my very messy wardrobe without you being able to see it. And I've just taken a smaller blanket. So if you don't have the 2 blocks, you might choose to simply place a blanket by the side. And if you want to use both, you're welcome to use a blanket and the 2 blocks today. I'm aware that I have sent you away at this point in time. And whenever you are returning, we will begin our practice lying down on the tummy. Once you are on your mat, let your body extend flat down at the front, bending the elbows and letting the elbows slide out a bit, while you can choose to stack your hands. And maybe the forehead can land down onto the stacked hands. You can then choose between touching your big toes together and letting the heels roll outward, or widening your legs and turning your toes outward. So you're then resting on the inside of the ankles. And please have a feel here into lower back and pelvic area to see which of these variations is the most suitable for you, but maybe also energetically suitable. And as you rest down, let the elbows just drift out a bit more, so your shoulders are becoming really soft and relaxed in this position. And as you now stay here, I will ask you to simply pay attention to the very outer layer, the most accessible layer of our existence. When it comes to yoga, we're thinking of being these 5 layers or koshas or sheaths in the body, and including the higher self and going much deeper. So for now, just looking into Annamaya Kosha, that outer layer, that is our physical body as a whole. So while you're resting there on the front of the body in Makrasana or crocodile, simply feeling how the front of the body is against the mat, how the back body is touching the space around, how you might have little niggles in the body. Some of them might be pleasant, others might be challenging. This is just how our physical bodies operate. And as you rest there like this, you could also feel how the breath flows through the nostrils and maybe impacts the physical body by pushing into the mat or expanding into the space that surrounds you. And with that, we're tapping into the second sheath, and that is Pranamaya Kosha. So prana, or life force, includes the flow of the breath. It also includes our energies. So while you might choose to notice that your breath is actually moving the body, you might gain an understanding that these sheaths are inseparable, that whichever one you look at will reach into another or all of them. And as you now explore that, you're also working with Manomaya Kosha, which is our intellect, our mind, our thoughts, emotions, and feelings. And depending on where you're at today, this might be highlighted and can go in either direction, same as the sensations in the body. It can be pleasant, can be challenging. We all go through these challenges in our lives, and today we will explore the 5 sheaths of the body, the Koshas. For now, we will stay with the first 3, allowing ourselves to explore those and then move on deeper toward the end of this practice. You can see that as peeling away some of the layers to understand them better, and then to hopefully blossom into something that feels entirely good and whole at the end. While you keep resting the body down, the forehead relaxed onto the floor. On your next inhalation, take the legs back into hip distance and extend down to the toes so the knees might lift away from the mat. And when you're exhaling, releasing the legs again. On the inhale, then lifting the right leg up. The head is still resting down onto the hands. And with the exhale, releasing the right leg. With your next inhale, then lifting the left leg up. And with the exhale, releasing the leg. On the inhale, then lifting both legs away from the ground, head still resting, arms at ease. And on the out breath, releasing the legs back down. Now grounding through the tops of the feet so the knees are lightly coming away from the floor again. And with the next inhale, gently lifting the head, not even using arms or shoulders or hands at all, just a lift. And then a breath out to rest the forehead back down. With your next inhalation, and these are options, you might press your hands into the ground and really extend your back bend, but only to the point that is within reach for your body. And with the next out breath, then landing the arms and the forehead back down onto the mat. Last option for the upper body, lifting the arms while the head is resting down. Both elbows might come off the floor. I'm just protecting here. And then releasing that back down. I will now, for the next movements, give you the choice of how you are lifting the upper body as we lift the lower body. So your choice out of those 3 variations. As you next inhale, lifting the upper body in your way and the right leg lifting away from the mat. And with the out breath, releasing back down. Inhaling, left leg comes up, upper body lifting, however you choose to extend yourself. And with the out breath, releasing the body down. The next one we will pause in. So with the next in breath, lifting both legs, the head and the chest, maybe the arms, or pressing down into the mat. Keep your gaze lightly forward and breathe. On the next out breath, then releasing the whole body down, melting back into your crocodile pose. Let's slide the hands down by the side of the ribs. And with the next in-breath, come onto your hands and knees. You might step the knees a little in. You can keep them close, or you can widen the knees as you lower your buttocks to the heels. And in this child's pose variation, you could choose to bring the hands out in front to assist the forehead to rest. But you may also use a block, or you could bring the forehead all the way down to the floor. Allow yourself a few breaths in child's pose or balasana. The way you're focusing within and acknowledging these sheaths once more. The physical body made out of all the things that we put in and onto it. The breath that flows, the energy you have spent, the energy you have gained, pranamaya kusha. And then the ability of the mind to potentially stay present or to keep wandering away. Manamaya kusha. Extending your arms again to the front side of the mat with your fingers spread out. With your next inhalation, lifting up onto all fours. You might like to adjust the distance of the knees and place them back under hip distance, keeping your hands spread out and resting down at shoulder distance apart. The gaze is lightly down, but the neck is active. With the next inhalation, then lifting the sole of your right foot up so the knee is bent. And if it feels good, raise the knee as well, lifting the gaze and opening your chest. And with the out breath, drawing your knee and nose together and rounding your back. On the inhale, push up through the sole of the foot, lifting heart and gaze. And with the exhale, drawing the knee back in and rounding the back. Inhaling, push up to aim for a back bend. On the exhale, rounding. Go for one last round. Then land your knee back down at hip distance. And with your next inhalation, reach your right arm up and open your gaze sideways. And as you breathe out, thread the needle. If it's available to you, please rest straight down onto your ear and shoulder. And place the left palm firmly into the mat, lifting your elbows so it's stacked over the wrist and maybe taking a look underneath the arm. An option might be to extend your right leg out, sliding, my room is too short, sliding the right foot out onto the mat. Releasing your knee back down and pressing into the hand to return onto all fours. Stabilizing or adjusting your stance. We'll repeat as you breathe in, lifting the sole of the left foot this time. Maybe the knee is lifting, chest is opening, and gaze comes forward. And with the out breath, then drawing in your knee and nose and rounding the back. On the inhale, push up through the sole of the foot into a back bend. On the exhale, curling back in. Repeating for 2 more. Inhale and exhale. When you complete it, placing your knee back down in your hip distance stance. And with the next inhale, raising the left arm, opening your gaze. And on the out breath, draw your arm through and carefully resting to ear and shoulder if that works for you. And then placing the palm of your right hand down into the mat by lifting your elbow over the wrist and taking a good look underneath the arm. Only as an option, might you slide your left foot out, finding an extension of the leg. Then bring your knee back down, push into the mat as you rise onto all fours. And a short sit towards the heels to release from hands and wrists. You might lift up onto your fingertips. Your choice as you next inhale to remain on all fours, or with the out breath, tucking the toes and extending the legs into a downward facing dog. If you're lifting your hips, you might start to walk out through the legs, taking tiny steps to encourage the opposite heel towards the floor and to bring your feet forward in between your hands. As you land here, The feet will be parallel. Starting to lean the weight slightly forward in the feet, feeling the extension across your back line. And when you're next exhaling, starting to roll your spine up to a standing position. As you inhale now, lift your arms and your gaze. And then bring the palms of the hands to touch. On your out breath, soften the knees. Draw the hands through the midline, down to the mat. On the in breath, come to a half lift, straightening your spine forward. And with the out breath now, stepping your right foot back into a lunge, and then lowering the right heel down to the mat. You can bring your hands to touch on the inside of your front foot. You may also use the top of the thigh as you push down into the feet, starting to straighten the legs as you inhale and raise your arms up. With the out breath, then open your arms out by bending into the front knee for warrior two. So turning your gaze forward rather than against your screen, looking over the front hand fingertips. Drawing the feet lightly inwards towards each other to feel the strength drawing up towards the solar plexus, and then relaxing the shoulders. You're welcome to place your knee to the mat if a lunge is a bit much. While you take a breath in, you might lift the back heel and reach your arms up, keeping a bend in the back knee and lifting the sternum if you like for a standing back bend. On the out breath, let your hands come down to frame the front foot. And from there, stepping the foot into downward facing dog. We will use vinyasa flows now between the postures. If you feel they are too much, you can drop again down to the knees, maybe have a cat-cow movement or work with some side planks. If you flow, breathe in, roll the spine forward into a plank or a kneeling plank. And exhale, coming down on or towards the mat. And with the inhale, lifting for a cobra or an upward facing dog. And with your out breath, coming over knees or toes to downward facing dog. As you come into your down dog, you can move it again if that feels right for you. However, if you prefer the stillness, just lengthening through the spine, getting a sense of it coming into a neutral position. Then take an inhale and lift your right leg up. Again, the knee can come towards the mat if you prefer, but on the out breath, draw the knee in and then aim and land the foot in between the hands. Helping it there might be the option. Come to fingertips now, lengthening your spine. And either you stay here or you're lifting the torso away from the thigh and extending the arms backwards with the palms facing down. Keeping the length in the spine, drawing the right side of the hip gently back, finding more stability. And if you want less stability now, you might choose to close your eyes. Inhale, and on the exhale, landing the hands down and stepping the foot forward, bowing down to your forward fold, Uttanasana. On the inhale, lengthening the spine forward, half lift, and then exhale to fold again. Use another out breath then to round your spine up into standing. And as you inhale, raise the arms and lift your gaze. Bring the palms to touch, let your knees soften and folding down again, back to your forward bend. The inhale, your half lift. On the exhale, step the left foot back and ground the heel of the foot. Bring the palms of your hands to touch inside of the front leg and take a breath in while using your feet into the mat to straighten the legs, lift the arms and your gaze. And with the out breath, bending into the front knee, letting your arms extend out, returning to warrior two. Your drishti or gaze punches forward. You can extend both of your arms or rest the back one. And the front knee is bent, aligning with the toes, while we pull the feet lightly in towards each other, gaining that inner lift of confidence and strength. As we keep our gaze steady, knowing exactly where this is going. With the next inhale, then you may lift the back heel, keeping a bend in the back knee as you reach your arms up, maybe lifting the sternum for a standing lungy back bend. Inhaling, and with the exhale, placing your hands back down onto the ground, taking front foot back into downward dog. You already know all fours is your friend. If you prefer to flow here, inhale, come forward into your plank variation. And exhale as we lower, maybe on or toward the mat. A breath in for Cobra Upward Dog. And a breath out as we return to all fours or downward facing dog. Again, if you're in a down dog, maybe choosing to move it. But at some stage in the practice, you will notice that it is the steadiness that you're seeking after the flow. Maybe you don't. So listening into your physical body without allowing Manamaya, that sense of self and ego, to take over. As you arrive on the next inhalation, lifting the left leg up. With the out breath, drawing the knee into the chest and then aiming or helping the foot in between the hands. Take your time here as you might come onto your fingertips, lengthening the spine. And there's an option of lifting the belly away from the thighs, extending the arms again, palms facing down, fingers spread out. As you come into the lunge, let the left side of the hip guide a little bit backwards, finding more balance, less weight sitting in the joint, more strength, stability. And if you're not into stability, but rather having some fun, you can close the eyes and allow yourself to play with the balance. In breath, open the eyes, out breath, hands down, and the footsteps forward as we bow down. Then starting to curl the spine up. On the next exhalation, raise the shoulders a little and shrug them back and down. Now, before we continue, as we repeat this, but add a tiny little bit of balance and maybe a huge area of playfulness, you can choose. You can choose to keep practicing repeating on the mat. You can choose to place a blanket here at the very front of the mat, but please make sure it's sitting on the mat. If you have a carpet like me, carpet will do as well. If you don't have blocks, this is sufficient, gives you enough instability. Or you can choose blocks, placing blocks down onto the blanket. That's the ultimate challenge, or removing the blanket and just having the blocks down. I will try and demonstrate with the lot. So while I will just turn that forward so you can see me better, please keep yours at the front end of the mat. Now we will step onto the blocks with 1 foot each. I will just call that blocks for now, whatever you're standing on. And you might find that the moment you're shifting the weight just a little bit, there's an unfamiliarity underneath the feet, an unevenness or instability. Let's turn the palms of the hands forward. We'll shift the weight just for now towards the left foot and block. And if that's within you, extending the right leg forward with the flexion of the foot. Breathing in. With the exhale, bend your standing leg. Lean the hips forward like a chair. Raise your arms and pull the toes upwards. On the inhale, let the legs swing and straighten your body. On the exhale, bending the knee, leaning forward, reaching the arms to the front. On the inhale, rise to stand tall. On the exhale, squeeze in like a chair pose. Inhale, standing tall. Now I recommend to take a careful look down so you can land the foot safely onto your second block. We'll shift sides as you lean towards the right foot, bringing your left leg out in front with the flexion of the foot. For 3 rounds, on the exhale, bend your knee, the hips, reach arms forward, pull the toes up. On the inhale, let the leg hang down, straighten the body. Exhaling your chair pose and squeezing up. Inhaling, lengthen the body. Last round, breath out. On the inhale, lengthen the body again and land the foot down onto the block. Now I will deliberately change my setup for wobbles to the front end of the mat. And as you are standing still on your blocks, we'll repeat the flow. On the inhale, lifting the arms and your gaze. Then soften the knees as you breathe out. Draw the hands down the midline and fold forwards. Your hands might reach a little bit further than usual as the weight sits forward lightly within your feet. With your next inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Imagine I could do that. And then use your fingertips on the block and step your right foot back, lowering the heel down to the mat. At any time these blocks becoming dangerous or unwelcome, you can remove them, bringing palms of the hands together. As you breathe in, use both feet, that on the block, that on the mat. Straighten the legs and reach your arms up. On the out breath, bend the knee on the block and let your arms extend back out, shoulder height for warrior 2. So the knee here at the front is as usual over the ankle and with that over the block. The feet, however, will still aim to draw inwards without much success of moving as usual, but you will feel there's different muscle groups now switching on. Keep your shoulders relaxed and the new strengths that you found within you. You may leave the heel on the ground for stability or lift the heel up. Bend the knee and a breath in to raise the arms and lift your heart while you keep a bend in the back knee. Next, our breath. Aim to release one hand to the block. Too much hands can always be on the floor and the fingertips to the other block. Then step the foot back, both hands landing on the block. Your hips might reach up for your downward facing dog. As you inhale, roll the spine forward, coming into a plank. I recommend to bring the knees down for better control. And with the exhale, keep your elbows by your side, chaturanga a little. And breathe in, And lift your heart. With the out breath, you could move to your heels or tuck the toes and return to a downward facing dog. Asking you now to step your right hand down outside of the block and the left hand too, or if that's too much, place them onto the mat. Now also, if you want to keep it accessible, you can place your left knee down and take a breath to extend the right leg up. With your out breath, then draw the knee into the chest. We're aiming with the right foot to land on the block. Now, if your swing isn't quite as energetic this morning, you can again shorten the stance, help the foot up there. No harm done. Have your fingertips down on the ground. If you're happy with the knee on the floor, you may stay like this, or you can tuck the back toes under, lift the knee. Now we're gently encouraging the right side of the hip back and maybe lifting the arms, spreading the wings, the palms facing down, and the right side of the hip keeps drawing lightly back. And if that isn't enough balance underneath the front foot, you might close the eyes again. Also, if you're just wanting to play, just have to adjust myself, you can find where you are. As you open the eyes, if you close them, start to draw your back foot in. You can hop it in, take your time. As you lift your upper body, take the foot from behind and extend the leg to the front with the flexion of the foot. Inhaling, and with the exhale, bending the knee and the hip, holding the balance as you raise your toes at the front. Then inhale, standing and placing your left foot back down onto the block. Now, my apologies, I have to change sides again. Standing upright and straight, palms facing forward, we're back in mountain pose. With the next in-breath, raise the arms, a lift of the gaze. Soften the knees and draw the hands down to the midline. While you're folding forward, your hands or fingertips might even reach towards the mat. The weight sits forward on the blocks, a deep extension into the back line. On the inhale, find a half lift. I will place my fingertips onto the blocks and then stepping the left foot back while you ground the heel of the foot. Same here, blocks may be removed and palms can touch. As you breathe in, use the foot on the block and on the ground. Straighten your legs, raise your arms, maybe lifting the gaze. On the out breath, begin to bend the front knee. Take your arms out shoulder height and start to look forward over front hand fingertips, watching the front knee at the same time stacking over the block and the ankle. While your shoulders are rather soft, the gaze is determined. While the feet are drawing inwards, we're lifting the energy up, exercising at the same time the inner muscles of the legs. On the next inhale, if that's available, raise the heel, bend the back knee, lift your arms, and you may also lift your sternum, extending into a back bend within this lunge. Inhale. With the exhale, begin to reach the hands down. There's one block available, or the fingertips go onto the other, and you may step the foot back, landing both hands, downward facing dog. If you want to flow with me, take a breath in, roll forward into a plank. Now, some of you might try the second round with the knees lifted. I will place my knees back down. On the exhale, keep your elbows close, lower, and then breathe in to open into a back bend. On the breath out, either come to all fours or lift the knees again for downward facing dog. Stepping the left hand down and then the right. Raising the left leg, maybe the right knee comes to the mat. And on the out breath, draw the knee forward. And the aim is to place the foot onto the block. Now, lucky, if you get there, hold the foot if you need to remove the block, if that's better for you. Come to fingertips and lengthen your spine. And you may then choose to tuck back toes under and lift the knee away from the mat. Keeping the length and an option to lift the torso away from the thigh. Extending the arms along the sides, palms facing down, fingers spread out. And you might gently draw the left side of the hip backwards, aiming for more stability. An option to get the wobbles by closing the eyes. Inhale as you open your eyes again and starting to bring the back foot in. Keep a steady gaze point and extend the leg from the back to the front with a flexion of the foot. Inhaling, standing straight. On the out breath, bend the knee, the hip, reach arms forward and lift your toes. Pause. As you inhale, lengthen the body. Step the foot down onto the ground or the block and stand. We'll step back and away from our challenging construction and standing on the mat. You may close the eyes in the safety of a mountain, steady and tall. The surface on which we are much more even and supportive. Noticing the physical body. There might have been heat coming in. The breath, pranamaya, might have changed. So has the energy. And your mind, well, that is up to you to explore. Maybe the resistance to the unfamiliarity or the curiosity. On your next inhalation, reaching your arms up again. Soften your knees and breathe out and fold forward once again. On the inhale, lengthening your spine. And as you breathe out, plant your hands down and bring your knees down to the mat. We won't need the construction like that anymore, but you may raise your blocks down by the side of the mat somewhere. We'll bring the forearms down to the ground and the elbows will rest at about shoulder distance. You can keep your fingers spread out or you can interlace the hands. Let's tuck the toes under for a light inversion. Reach your hips up and back and lower the head between your arms. This is a baby dolphin. If you prefer grown-up dolphins, lift the knees away from the mat. We're using the dolphin today as our inversion. The options are to keep knees down or lifted. Allowing yourself to let go of the head so the neck can relax without placing weight onto the head. Just leaving it there at ease and breathing slowly in and out. Feeling the blood moving into the head. Maybe there's a challenge for you at some point. As you keep observing physical body, annamaya, your energy body, pranamaya, and using the mind, manomaya, all different trees interconnected with each other. If your knees were off the mat, place them back down And you might choose to curl yourself into child's pose. And if available, the arms are resting by the sides, your hands near your feet, so the shoulders can rest and the upper back can broaden. On your next out breath, begin to roll the spine up into a seated position, and you might choose to place your hands upon your thighs. For this practice of breathing before we come to sit on the mat, you can also choose to use your blocks that you placed by the side and pop them, maybe even both, for a comfortable seat in between the feet. If this is too much pressure on your knees, bring the legs out in front. It's not that important. We're sitting upright and tall. That is important. And then placing your hand onto your lower abdomen. With a sniffed breath out of the nose, pull the lower belly inwards. And let it relax while the in-breath happens. Breathing out, pull the lower belly in. Inhale, relax the belly. You can continue in this pace, pulling lower belly in quite forcefully and relaxing it again as you inhale. Or you may speed this up and make it Kapalabhati, where you continuously draw the lower abdomen in and sniff the breath out of the nose. Sounds a bit like this. Please feel free to drop back into the gentle pace of it or keep the faster breath flowing for a little bit longer. Then let's all breathe in slowly. And you might let the breath escape gently and slowly through your mouth. Checking back in with the different layers of yourself. This breathing practice, especially done in its faster form, really lifts the energies upwards. So I'm hoping you regain some of the energies spent. I'll remove my blocks back to the side of the mat, and you might choose to do the same as you come to sit on your bottom, or you might choose to sit up on the folded blanket if you've got one nearby, and if you don't, you can choose to sit up on a rolled up mat. Let's extend the legs out wide from here. Bending both knees a little and extending your spine. Turning towards the right leg. The left leg may straighten while you keep both feet in a flexion. And with the out breath, starting to lean towards the right leg. Your hands can come with you while you begin to lower your head towards the knee. You may keep this knee in a bend, and you could also flex the foot quite actively as you ground down at the same time through the left side sitting bones. If you're very comfortable here, you can extend the leg also. And simply breathing out is the goal here, to release a bit further into the stretch. Keep grounding down through the left side, and we'll maybe get you some length coming up from the glutes into the side body. On your next inhale, lifting halfway. As you breathe out, slide to sit. Bend both knees gently again and turn to the left-hand side. You can straighten the right leg as you exhale to lean towards the left. Hands can again come with you. The head may lower down towards the knee. Maybe there's a straightening of the leg happening if this feels comfortable, while the foot remains in a flexion, encouraging the right side of your sitting bones into the floor to gain some deeper extension up there through the side body. Same as on the other side, mainly concentrating on the out breath. With the next inhalation, lifting about halfway out. And as you exhale, coming back into a seat. Center yourself now and place the backs of your hands to the inside of the legs. We give ourselves a little massage by sliding with a firm pressure to the leg, down one leg, up this leg, while you slide down the other. And you may choose to massage the whole inside of the legs here as you're rolling from side to side. And you could also choose to start leaning forward from there. You can keep the sideways movement going for a while. And you might find yourself enjoying the movement. And in that case, you can stick with the movement, nothing else to do really. If you prefer to put a hold in, you might find a place where you're comfortable to hold, where you kind of have the feeling this is your maximum extension. In all cases, please keep your toes facing upward, and you may keep that pressure into the legs into the hands or arms as you release the body forward if you're choosing to hold. Two more breaths. And you could then start to slide again or sit up with a straighter back. I'm back into massaging my inner legs. When you come to sit, you could choose to use your hands under the legs to guide your feet back onto the mat. Now I'm sitting way here at the end where my head will be placed. If you've got your blanket there, this isn't a good place unless you needed to cover yourself up. You could also choose to put your socks back on if that is what you need to do to keep yourself warm and safe while we breathe in to sit. And you can use the hands today if you like and roll yourself down onto your back. The blanket, if you're using it as a cushion, make sure that it's under the head and above the shoulders so the shoulders can rest to the mat. Before we come into a resting pose, please place your feet down onto the mat and take them a little bit wider. Let your arms drift out to the side and gently let the knees sway from side to side. You may choose to add a rolling of the head if that feels good for the neck. When you feel ready, you could leave your feet out wide and let the knees roll in for resting pose. Or you can extend your legs, maybe even use a bolster underneath the knees. And if your legs are long, let them roll outwards. The arms will fall away from the body as you come into your resting posture. If you have trouble closing the eyes today, no problem, just steady your gaze toward the ceiling. And as you come to rest on your backs, tap back into Annamaya Kosha, your physical body. Just exploring the rest on the back and the pressure from the floor. Exploring the space that surrounds your body. The energy that you used, the energy you have restored, together with the breath. Pranamaya Kosha. Tapping now into Manomaya Kosha as you notice where you're sitting with what you feel, where you in your mind. And as the stillness comes through the physical existence, the breath might calm, so might the mind. In that stage, you could be able to access Vijnanamaya Kosha. It's our higher mind where we find our creativity and intuition. Maybe the intuition can give you some hints for the day. And you could then choose to tap even deeper and arrive in Anandamaya Kosha. Ananda means bliss. And within all of us lies happiness and joy. We get glimpses of that every now and then our minds, that things we are separate, will seek the happiness back outside of ourselves. You can choose. If you find the spark of joy and happiness sitting within you, or you're able to imagine that, you could place that as a little seat in your heart center. And as the body is at ease now, you could expand with each gentle breath this seat of happiness and joy within yourself. And you could do so for a little while you might become aware of all the other layers in between, especially if one of them wavers away and you lose your point of focus. That might be the seat of joy and happiness. Let the intention of the mind keep a little spark of this happiness within and extend itself back to prana and the breath as it flows through your nostrils. And you might choose to deepen the breath. We will choose here usually with our minds. And as you do begin to move the body slightly, you might also opt for a bigger stretch. And then gently bending your knees and rolling over onto your sides before coming to join me in a seated position. Bringing the palms of your hands to touch in front of the chest, and if that's right, the thumbs can lean against the sternum. We will complete our practice today with the chant of 3 Oms, our universal sound that unites us and with that to our surroundings as well. Let's begin with the breath in for the first Om. Keeping that happiness within us and extending it with a light bow to each other. Namaste.